Welcome to the second part of 16th lecture. It is a continuation of 16th lecture and the topic is reproduction. So the main objective of this lecture is sexual reproduction in humans. In part 1 of 16th lecture we have discussed about sexual reproduction, asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction in plants. And now we will discuss the 16.4 which is sexual reproduction in humans. So sexual reproduction in humans is divided into the reproductive systems. There are two reproductive systems in humans. Number one is the male reproductive system and second one is the female reproductive system. So male reproductive system consists of some structures which are bladder, gland, sperm duct, urethra, penis, testis, foreskin and scrotum. This diagram is showing these structures. Here is the bladder. Similarly, in this diagram, bladder is here. Glands are present here. Sperm duct, this area is showing the sperm duct and here is the sperm duct. Urethra, this tube is showing the urethra and urethra is present in this area in that diagram. Penis is present in this area and here it is at that area present. Testes are there. Foreskin is this and scrotum. So these are all the structure of male reproductive system. Now we will discuss the functions of these structures. Firstly, we will discuss the function of glands. So glands produces the fluid which is called the semen that provide the sperm cells with nutrients. So semen provide the nutrients to the sperm cells. Second structure is sperm duct. Sperm passes through the sperm duct to be mixed with fluids produced by the glands before being passed into the urethra for ejaculation. Another structure is urethra. So urethra is a tube that runs down the center of the penis that can carry out urine or semen. A ring of muscles in the urethra prevents the urine and semen from mixing. Testes are also the important structure of the male reproductive system. So testes are contained in a bag of skin which is known as scrotum and produces the sperm. Sperms are also known as male gametes and also produce testosterone. Testosterone is the male hormone. So another structure of the male reproductive system is penis. So penis passes urine out of the body from the bladder and it also allows the semen to pass into the vagina of a woman during sexual intercourse. So these are the structures and functions of the male reproductive system. Now we will see the female reproductive systems part. So female reproductive system consists of oviduct, ovary, uterus, cervix, bladder, urethra and vagina. So oviduct is present here. This area is showing the oviduct. This is ovary. Here is the uterus of the female reproductive system. This is the cervix. These are the bladders. And here is a tube which is known as urethra. And this is vagina of the female reproductive system. Now we will discuss the functions of female reproductive system. So the first structure is oviduct. So oviduct is a structure that connects the ovary to the uterus and is lined with ciliated cells to push the released ovum down. Fertilization also occurs here. Second structure is ovary. So ovary contains ova which are the female gametes, which will mature and develop when hormones are released. Uterus is also a structure in female reproductive system. It is a muscular bag with a soft lining where the fertilized egg or zygote will be implanted to develop into a fetus. What is the function of cervix? So it is the ring of muscles at the lower end of the uterus and keep the developing fetus in place during the pregnancy. Urethra is a tube that passes urine out of the body from the bladder. And the last structure is vagina. So vagina is a muscular tube that leads to the inside of the woman's body where the male's penis will enter during the sexual intercourse and sperms are deposited. So oviduct, ovary, uterus, cervix, urethra and vagina are important structures of the female reproductive system. So as we have discussed the female reproductive system and male reproductive system, their structures and the functions of these structures. Now we will discuss the process of fertilization in humans. So fertilization is the fusion of the nucleus of a male gamete with the nucleus of a female gamete. So fusion of the nucleus of a male gamete with the nucleus of a female gamete. It is the process of fertilization, and during this process a new cell produced which is known as zygote, and this then matures into an embryo. So the process of fertilization is the fusion of male and female gametes which produces zygote, and the zygote then matures into an embryo. Now we will discuss the gamete differences. In this diagram we can see that this is female and here is the male. So the female egg or ovum contains 23 chromosomes and the sperms of the male contain 23 chromosomes. And when the fusion of female ovum or egg and the male sperm occurs, then the process of fertilization starts. And as a result of the fertilization, zygote is produced which contains 46 chromosomes, and these 46 chromosomes are present in 23 pairs. Zygote then matures into an embryo. So embryo contains 46 chromosomes in 23 pairs. So what is the gamete differences? Gamete differences is that sperms are much smaller than eggs and are produced in much larger numbers. So sperms are smaller than egg and sperms are produced in much larger numbers. The egg cell is much larger than sperm cells and only one egg is released each month while the woman is fertile. So sperms are produced in larger numbers while only one egg is produced from the female body when female is fertile. And this one egg fuses with the chromosome and process of fertilization starts. So sperms are much smaller as compared to the eggs, and egg cell is larger than the sperm cells. Now we will discuss the overview of human pregnancy. Firstly, the sperm enter into the vagina, then sperm passes through a cervix. Sperms enter into the oviduct. If an egg is present, it becomes fertilized. Fertilization results in zygote formation, and zygote divides to make an embryo, which is a ball of cells. Then embryo implants into the uterus wall. Embryo develops further to form a fetus. Fetus develops within the uterus or womb, and then birth of a baby occurs. So this is the overview of the whole pregnancy and birth. Now we will discuss the pregnancy and development in detail. So after fertilization, the newly formed zygote divides repeatedly to form a ball of cells which is known as embryo. So embryo is a ball of cells. This becomes implanted in the wall of the uterus. After 8 weeks of development, the embryo is called a fetus, and the amniotic sac produces amniotic fluid which surrounds and protects the developing embryo. Now we will discuss the development of the embryo. So, as we know that the gestation period for the humans is about 9 months. So, major development of organs take place within the first 12 weeks. After this point, the organs are all in place and the remaining time is usually used by the fetus to grow bigger in size. During gestation period, the fetus develops and grows by gaining the glucose, amino acids, fats, water and oxygen it needs from the mother's blood. So the blood run opposite each other, never mixing in the placenta. The fetus's blood connects to and forms the placenta by the umbilical cord. The mother's blood also absorbs the waste from the fetus's blood in the placenta. Substances like carbon dioxide and urea are removed from the fetus blood so that they do not build up to the dangerous levels. Placenta acts as a barrier to prevent the toxins and pathogens getting into the fetus blood. After the baby has been born, the umbilical cord is cut. So, when baby has born, the umbilical cord is cut. This does not hurt as there are no nerves in it, just two blood vessels. So, umbilical cord contains no nerve, there are just two blood vessels. It is tied up to prevent the bleeding and shrives. It is tied up to prevent the bleeding and shrivels up and falls up after a few days, leaving the belly button behind. So umbilical cord is tied up and then it falls up after a few days. Then belly button leaves behind. The placenta detaches from the uterus wall shortly after the birth and is pushed out due to contractions in the muscular wall of the uterus. So these contractions are also known as after birth. What is after birth? The placenta detaches from the uterus wall shortly after the birth and is pushed out due to contraction in the muscular wall of the uterus, known as the after birth. Here we can see the umbilical cord. This is the whole structure of placenta. Here is the umbilical cord. These are the fetus blood vessels. Here are the intervillous space. These are the mother blood vessels. This is the placenta and this is the placental membrane, and these structures are showing the villi. So here is the placenta. In this diagram is showing placenta is here. Now we will discuss about protection of embryo. So, the developing embryo is surrounded by an amniotic sac which contains the amniotic fluid made from the mother's plasma. So, amniotic fluid is made from the mother plasma and the developing embryo is surrounded by a sac which is known as amniotic sac, and it contains the fluid which is known as amniotic fluid and it made from the mother's plasma. So, it protects the fetus during development by cushioning it from bumps to the mother's abdomen. So, amniotic sac is present around the developing embryo and it surrounds the developing embryo, and it contains the amniotic fluid which protects the fetus during development and by cushioning it from bumps to the mother's abdomen. This diagram is showing the development of fetus in the uterus. So this is the fetus which is developing in the uterus of the mother. Here is the placenta, as we have also seen the placenta in the previous diagram. This is the uterus. Here is the umbilical cord. So this is fetus. This is the amniotic fluid, which is shown in the dark brown color. Here is the cervix and this is vagina. Now we will discuss that what is antenatal care. Antenatal care is also known as prenatal care, and it refers to the period after birth. So a period after the birth is known as antenatal or prenatal. Antenatal care is the way a woman should look after herself during pregnancy so that the birth will be safe and her baby will be healthy. So the term antenatal care is the term which is used and which shows when a woman should look after herself during the pregnancy so that the birth will be safe and her baby will be healthy. So what are the main points of antenatal care? The pregnant woman should eat properly. She should take iron and folic acid, a vitamin, to prevent the anemia. So pregnant women should take iron and folic acid to prevent anemia. Drinking or smoking are more likely to cause babies with low birth weights. These babies are more likely to be ill than babies of the normal birth weights. So, the pregnant women should not drink alcohol and they should not smoke, because in this way they will deliver a baby with low birth weight, and these babies are more prone to any type of infection or disease than other babies of healthy birth weights. So, antenatal care is the care which women should do during their pregnancy, and they should look after herself during the pregnancy. They should eat properly, take iron and folic acid in diet, and they should also take the supplements of iron and folic acid recommended by their doctor. And they should not drink alcohol, and they should not smoke, because this will affect the baby and it will result in the babies with low birth weights. And in low birth weight babies there are more chances of infections and diseases. Now we will discuss the differences between breast milk and formula milk. So it is important to understand the ongoing debate about the advantages and disadvantages of breastfeeding compared to the formula milk. So what are the advantages of breast milk? So if baby feeds breast milk, there is no risk of allergic reaction. So natural antibodies are present in the breast milk, which provide passive immunity to the fetus. So breast milk is also at an ideal temperature. There are no additives in breast milk, and breast milk is also causes a bonding between mother and baby. So these are all the advantages of breast milk. Firstly, there will be no risk of allergic reaction through breast milk. Natural antibodies are also present in the breast milk, which provide passive immunity, and breast milk is also at ideal temperature. There are no additives in breast milk, and by feeding the breast milk to the baby, there is also happens a close bonding between the mothers and babies. What are disadvantages of breastfeeding? So there are few disadvantages. First is difficult to do in public. So it is difficult to feed your baby in public, It is also painful sometimes, mostly right after the birth of the baby. It becomes painful to feed the baby. And third one is that there should be a mother present to feed the baby. So that's all about second part of 16th lecture. This lecture is the continuation of the topic reproduction, and in this lecture we have discussed about the sexual reproduction in humans. We have discussed the male reproductive system, female reproductive system, their structures and the functions of these structures. We have also discussed the whole cycle of pregnancy and birth. So that's all about this lecture. The remaining topic of the reproduction will be discussed in third part of lecture 16th. So for 16.5, 16.6 and 16.7 topics, watch third part of reproduction, which is this lecture 16th third part. Thank you.